Hello everybody, welcome back to Screen Stars and welcome to another PlayStation 4 review, and today's review is for the new survival game that was released this week on PlayStation 4, Stranded Deep. Now this is a game I didn't know anything about, but I like survival games. Generally speaking, I've played a lot of them. 7 Days to Die, Conan Exiles, The Forest, and my favourite one that I'm playing an awful lot of right now is Subnautica. So when I saw this one released this week on the PlayStation Store, and especially with this being a survival game where you are based on a desert island, so you can, any fans out there of the Tom Hanks film Castaway, well, you can make your dreams come true. Unfortunately there's no Wilson here, but that is the basic storyline here. You're playing Crash Lands. You are stranded on a desert island, and it is for you to survive the elements until you can design, create, build everything that you need to escape from the situation that you're in. Right, now first things first, when you play this game, when you boot this game up, you get a few options, and not a huge amount. There's no multiplayer, but when you start this game, you get the option of just doing a game using the existing world that the team have provided for you, which is what I did initially. And then I did a little bit of experimenting. You could do something like the cartographer mode, which is basically you could design your own island from scratch and decide how many rocks you want on the island, how many trees, all that kind of stuff, what shipwrecks there are around the island, that kind of stuff. Or you could just go in and choose a random island, so when you start a new game a random island will be generated from scratch, so you don't really know what to expect. So you get a few options here, but essentially the gameplay loop remains the same no matter which island you're on. Is you crash land, you get on the shore, and it's for you to start crafting and creating to survive the elements. Now, fans out there of survival games like this will take to this immediately. They'll know the kind of things they need to do. You need to pick up sticks, you need to pick up rocks, you need to get fibre, you need to get all those things that you would normally need to get in a game like this to survive, to start crafting things. You need food, you need water, so initially you're surviving on a diet of crabs that are roaming around the shoreline. You have to craft a knife to get these crabs and then skin them, and then you have to craft a campfire to cook them on. All the kind of stuff that you're familiar with, especially the games like Conan Exiles and things like that. This game kind of felt similar to that for me without the threat. And drinking in this game at the beginning is basically coconut shit. You're drinking coconuts, so it is literally remaking Castaway, because early on in that film that's all he was living on, is basically fish meat and coconuts. Now a lot of these survival games, what keeps the interest up in these games is the threat level. So you're in 7 Days to Die, obviously it's zombies. In The Forest it's these mutant things. Conan Exiles, you know the threats that are in that sort of game. And Subnautica, it's the threat of the unknown and all those weird and wonderful sea creatures that are out there. In this game all you really get is the elements, sharks and snakes. There's not an awful lot on display here to generate fear to progress, if you like, fear to protect, which I think is the biggest weakness here. But that's not to say that this game isn't enjoyable and playable. Now it's very much a budget title, this. I think I paid $15.99 around that price in the UK. Now I think that's reasonable for any survival game when you consider that, you know, the Ark games and the Conan Exile games, the amount of money you pay for those sort of games. I think the price point here is decent enough for anybody looking to jump into a survival game. Now if you are looking to jump into a survival game, you've never played one before, there are far better ones on the market, I would suggest. And I would suggest some of those that I've mentioned previously, especially things like The Forest and Subnautica. They're far more polished than this, and the mechanics are far more rewarding. Essentially what you're getting here is it's when you go into the game, it's a decent enough tutorial. It teaches you the basics and then leaves you on your own, and you've got the usual crafting menu where you craft your basic things, and as your skills improve, your level of crafting improves, so that you can craft bigger and better things. Anything from a campfire to then a fire pit, and then something to cook meat on, and then you build a basic tent so that you can save the game initially, and then you build camp beds, and then eventually you'll start building full-on buildings and bases and things like that, which is all well and good. However, like I say, there's not an awful lot of threat here in this game, so you're building this base just to survive the elements, really. But the elements aren't really that dangerous, because it usually tells you in the full of the daylight sun that you need to get out of the shade, kind of thing. You're too hot. Again, if it rains and pours and you've no shade and things like that, it'll give you a warning here and there. The biggest issue with this game is the eating and drinking, especially early on in the game, as many survival games are like that. Like I say, initially you have a couple of rations that you find on the lifeboat, and usually as well, if you look around, there will be a shipwreck or two, depending on if you use the existing world, there's definitely one shipwreck out of shore, but if you use a random one, there might be more. If you go on these ships, you will usually find some extra bits and pieces, extra rations and other things to help you, like tarp and occasionally other equipment that you'll be able to use. So it's a reasonably easy game to pick up and learn how to play. But like I said, the gameplay loop for me is lacking a little bit, because it's not overly challenging, and the threat level is not particularly there, and the game itself, I think, very much in how it looks, is fairly rough around the edges, I think. I mean, obviously it's not a AAA title, I don't expect perfection here, and you can point the fingers at other games like Conan Exiles that look like it was terrible the way it looked, certainly when it came out, and I haven't played that one for a while. I don't know if that's improved. I don't think it's improved that much. Many survival games, generally speaking, don't look brilliant, apart from a small handful of them. I personally think Subnautica looks beautiful. But this definitely looks a little bit rough around the edges, and the island isn't particularly big. Now, the idea here with the gameplay loop is you don't stay on this one island. The idea is you're exploring. There are other islands to explore. You'll be hopping once you've built the things you need. You don't really want to be exploring in the basic raft that you get at the beginning, but the ones you can see in the distance early on, you can explore them safe enough. You need to be building everything that you need, all the equipment to build rafts and boats and all that kind of stuff, so that you can go off and explore the bigger and better islands and things like that. So that interest keeps you going. But from my perspective, I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. It's a decent effort for a survival game, but it is a little bit rough around the edges, and veterans might not be so keen. So I hope you enjoyed this review.